from the Dram Club. In today's video, we are doing a quick whiskey tasting and I have invited a bunch of my friends over. We are tasting the Jura 10-year-old from Isle of Jura. Whiskey is a very sensorial experience. People get different flavors and aromas in a whiskey. So before we dive into the whiskey tasting, we'll do a small exercise. I'm going to spray the same perfume on everybody's hand and then we will exchange notes on what is the notes that we're getting. So Pooja, what did you get on the perfume?
Lots of sea spray.
Okay.
I got some flower notes. It just feels like I'm on holiday. Powdery. Quilts.
Being home,
Right.
cozy.
It's very comforting. Lemon peel. It's like I'm sitting and having nice lemon tea.
I get a lot of floral notes, but I also get that feeling of when I'm sitting in the home and it's pouring outside. It's like that rainy kind of smell. So as you can see, everybody gets different kinds of aromas and they associate it very differently, even with the same perfume. So now that we're going to get started with the whiskey tasting, as the first step, you should always observe the color of the liquid. If you pick up both the glasses, is there a difference that you guys can observe? For me, the 10-year seems slightly darker than the 12-year-old. 10-year is more on the side of copperish and the 12-year is more on the golden side. Then we get into nosing the whiskey. So when you nose your whiskey, the one thing you should do is slightly swirl it so that the aromas open up. Just try and associate whatever notes you're getting, what is it that you're getting. And at this point, I would suggest make a mental note or write down in your notebooks what is it you're getting so that we are not influenced by each other's notes. What a lot of people also do is they first nose it with their left nostril and then they nose it with their right nostril. Helps them experience more flavors, more notes.
So we taste now?
Yes.
Finally.
Cheers.
Yeah, let's do
Cheers.
What you can also do is add a few drops of water maybe. So that just helps open up the whiskey and you get a lot more on the nose and on the palate. Now that you've tasted it neat, you can add a few drops and see how the whiskey changes on its nose and on its palate. So there's this Equinox Day, which is 21st June, which is the longest day. So in Scotland, it's summer solstice. It's a big day, it's celebrated, it's like announcing the summer and everybody comes out and celebrates. So Jura has a very unique tradition. So what they do is they have a shot of the Jura 10 or the 12, whichever way, and they have cucumber water after it.
Is there any significance?
It's a tradition that they follow. So everybody has different traditions, and cucumber water is basically announcing that the summer's here. So you can mix whiskey with water and stuff like that. Now that we've tasted the Jura 10-year-old, I think it's a good time to exchange notes and see what everyone got on the nose, on the palate, and the finish. So Pooja, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I have had Jura 10 a long time ago. I was working in London then. I mean, I just drank it at the bar, so nowhere close to this experience of drinking it.
Right.
I was reading George Orwell's 1984, and he wrote that book in the Isle of Jura to get over tuberculosis. So on the nose, I got a lot of citrus, a lot of orange peel. It also smelled quite floral, and I don't know if it's the leftover from the fragrance that we had smelled just before, but it smelled like a whiskey that's going to be big. So it wasn't big to smell, but it was like a hint of something that could be big if I tasted. And it was also quite straightforward. So it didn't feel very complicated on the nose. It wasn't 100 layers of things that I had to make my way through. So it tasted like a big whiskey. I can't remember what the ABV on that is. It doesn't feel very alcoholic, but it feels like a big whiskey.
Okay.
And I'd say that's the only thing that really followed on from the nose to the palate for me. I got a lot of honey, very sweet, and yeah, so quite different. So all those things that I first smelled, the citrus and the orange peel, I didn't get in the first tastes of it. Orange peel came back in the finish for me for sure. It was medium to long. It's still there, and the spice is there. It's not an overt spice for me, but there is certainly a hint of spice.
So if I could just jump in with that, is I don't know how to describe this technically, but what I do think in is metaphors.
Right.
And for me, this was like a giant cyclone, a quick cyclone. It comes in, it's big, it's huge, and then it's just gone.
Okay.
So in terms of finish, I would say that I didn't really it left me too soon, almost. Yeah. But it was great while it lasted. There was plum, there was chocolate. It opened up. It definitely opened up with the second tasting. And I want to say that it became lighter and bigger, and then it just went. That's my take on it.
So actually, that's what it is. Like, you associate flavors and aromas with memories. Baking spices is like your mom baking a cake. So those are the kind of associations that you make, which is perfectly alright. By the way, there's no technical term for associating with memories.
I think for me on the nose, it was like quite woody for me on the nose as well as on my palate. Vanilla, I'm getting on my nose. It's like easy-going. Little hint of spice, as Pooja said. I think maybe from the cardamom or somewhere, there's hint of spice. Banana. And I think when we added a drop of water, it opened up those sweet flavors. It became little sweeter. For me, the finish was like medium finish.
So I did get a hint of smoke, or like a very mild hint of peat, some nuts, some caramel chocolate. And there was this element of citrus, which I think was orange as well. I couldn't place it at that point in time. The palate for me was actually quite different from what I got on the nose. Like, it was spicier. I wasn't getting any spice notes on the nose. I got them a lot on the palate. Adding some water definitely opened the whiskey up. I started getting floral notes and some honey, sweet kind of notes. Finish for me was interestingly medium, but like, it was spicy and minty at the same time. Like, I was getting this eucalyptus kind of a taste on the finish, which I think I really enjoyed. I think overall it's a very easy sipping whiskey. It's not very high alcohol. It's 40%. So matured for 10 years in American white oak bourbon barrels and finished in aged Oloroso sherry butts. 40% alcohol. The description of the whiskey is a rich and rounded, balanced, subtle, smoky notes with a sweet sherry cask finish.
See, I didn't get that.
I could get a sherry.
The sweetness of it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, the smoke, even though it's so close to Isla, and so one thinks that maybe there's some influence of Isla's peat and smoke in it. I didn't get any smoke, but you did.
I did get those subtle.
I got little woody flavor. So, does the sherry cask decide the color?
Yes, sherry obviously imparts some stronger color as compared to a bourbon barrel, and that's why you see the 10-year is darker. This is all we have for today, and till then, follow Gram Club for more such content.